Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft early access coverage. This is episode 33. I'm Igneous, and today we're talking about roles. We're going to use some footage from my Tier 9 plasma bomber. Just kind of keep an eye on things, a little bit of something to talk about as we go through to break up the monotony. But one of the things that I've noticed very clearly in my time flying around in this little beauty is that we need to, as a community, come up with an idea around roles. Now, in a game where you're building your own bots and you're using all these different things that you can combine to create your own unique kind of construction, we don't want rules. We don't want things that say, if you're SMG, you have to do this. If you're Plasma, you have to do that. Because it's going to depend on the kind of bot you build, and it's going to depend on your comfort level as a player. But we do have to have some guidelines. We have to have something that we can present to the community and say, if you're choosing this kind of weapon or this kind of mobility or whatever, then you might want to consider this kind of role, because that's where you're going to excel based on the types of things that you're capable of doing. Now, right now, we're kind of in that no man's land where people are more interested in complaining about what needs to be nerfed than they are in sort of embracing the strengths of something and then applying that and saying, okay, based on what we know about this kind of weapon, if you use this kind of mobility, you'll be exceptional at this kind of role. Give it a shot. We aren't getting to those discussions yet, really, because it's just so much easier to complain. So-and-so is strong at this, and it bothers me, so we need to get that nerfed. You'll notice I'm not the world's best bomber pilot. This is one of the most challenging kinds of bots to pilot effectively, and it's because it's very easy to overextend. Realistically, what I should be doing is kind of hugging the ground and using the terrain to keep myself concealed until it's time to peek out and shoot at guys, but unfortunately I get a little bit impatient. And this match in particular is an example of why I get impatient. It's because I'm trying my best right now, this very moment in time. You'll see I'm just kind of circling around our base because I don't want to overextend. I don't want to be the first guy that the enemy sees. And the end result is that, you see, we've got a bunch of guys moving up here. They're kind of slow, but they're moving up as a group, and that's fantastic. And then I overextend. I saw it, and I got so excited maybe I could go find somebody to shoot at, and I overextend. So that's why this isn't a video about how to be an awesome plasma bomber pilot, because there's a lot to learn, and it doesn't happen in 10 matches or so. When you're thinking about a bot, oh thanks, automated message from dev team. When you're thinking about a bot that was made primarily to farm tier 9 checkpoints to unlock the tier 9 Tesla blades, there's only so much that we can learn and adopt in a certain period of time. I'm trying so hard now to crash next to my teammates, but I just, went down a little too fast. There's going to be a match coming up, and I'll point it out when we get there. It might even be the next one, that involves a bunch of players milling about doing nothing until the enemy death ball basically is on their doorstep. And it's a prime example of what happens when you get a bunch of people kind of sitting around waiting for someone else to make the first move, because nobody else really has a clear idea of what they're supposed to be doing. And that's something that I think we need to address. One, to stop complaining about everything that has a strength that irritates you and start embracing it and saying, this is the kind of thing that we need to recognize and take advantage of as teammates, and then try and figure out how we fit into that big picture. If we're not using that, if we're talking about, for example, the hot button now is SMGs. If I'm not driving an SMG bot of some kind, then I want to know how I fit in amongst those SMGs so that I can contribute to my team, and also give me an idea of what to look out for with the enemies. Now this is, you see all the guys still by our base? I'm doing what I tried to get into the habit of doing, which is just kind of go back and forth along our side of the map for a little while and give our guys an opportunity to figure out where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And you can see none of these guys want to advance. There's maybe one, maybe two that are willing to advance a little bit, but realistically speaking, everyone just kind of wants to hang out on our side of the map. And of course, here we go. I'm getting shot down again. Please stop. Oh look, they're all still at our base. Look at that. It's fantastic. So one of the things that I came up with in my mind is just the general rules. And when I say general, actually, sorry, forget I said rules. Because again, this isn't about rules and telling people that they have to do things a certain way. This is about giving them an idea. If you're not sure, here's something you might want to consider. SMG, great frontline fighters. Here's the death ball coming around the corner. The SMGs, the frontline fighters. And our guys are waiting for it to happen. They're just bent over on a base. You have SMGs that can basically do constant damage. The farther they are from the enemy, the less damage they do. If they want to hit something at range, if they want to shoot the air-to-air kind of thing way off in the distance, they have to fire less often to maintain their accuracy. If they just hold down the fire button on something way off in the distance, they hardly ever hit at all, because the accuracy, the recoil, kind of goes blah. It's not a good thing. The closer they get, the more damaging they are. Makes them excellent frontline fighters if the rest of their bot is built for it. Obviously, you want something that's a little bit beefy if you're on the front line. And that's not to say that you park out in the middle of nowhere and just let the enemy shoot at you while you shoot back. There's still plenty of room for strategic, tactical, intelligent gameplay, using cover, taking advantage of the situation, assessing the situation, prioritizing targets, doing all of these things. But out of all the bots, SMGs are the most capable of being on the front line and actually intimidating the enemy enough so that the enemy doesn't feel like they can sit out in the middle of nowhere shooting at you. That's kind of the thing. People will sit there and shoot at you as long as they feel safe in doing so. As soon as they feel threatened, they're going to be ducking to cover, or they're going to die soon. Some people, the whole idea of backing away into cover is it just doesn't register, and then they get mad because they die a lot. That's a whole other discussion. Point being, of all the vehicles, SMG are the ones that are most capable of holding their own when the enemy's full attention is on them. And this, I thought for some reason there was a friendly guy down there, and then I came down and I realized, nope, the medic is just so bored. he's helping dispatch me. So we got SMGs, frontline fighters, plasma right behind the SMGs. Maybe not necessarily on their ass. I would recommend against it. Give them room to back up if they have to. But plasma likes to duck in and out behind cover between reload cycles. That's how they do damage without getting shredded in between reloads. It means that they're not necessarily as suited to frontline fighters, not only because of the guerrilla style that's basically enforced by the nature of the weapon, but also they don't have precision firing. They're basically just lobbing blobs of damage on the enemy. They're great for stripping weapons and disabling components, you know, getting rid of legs or getting rid of radar. Does anyone even care about radar anymore? With this spotting system, I don't think they do. But you get what I mean. If you've got a plasma bomber or a plasma tank or a plasma hover or whatever that's constantly firing, using their guns every time the guns are loaded, they're going to throw down a ton of damage, but they can't do it targeted at specific systems. They can't go directly for the driver's seat kind of thing. All they can do is just lob what they can lob. And for that reason, they don't do so well on the front lines, because the SMG versus the plasma sitting in the open, the SMG wins. That's just the way it is. Then there's the medics. Never should be on the front line. Ideally should be wary of the rest of the guys on their team and their line of fire, because I get interrupted. When I'm on a vehicle that's not a flyer, I get my shots blocked by medics all the time, because they just kind of wander into my line of fire after I've already committed to firing. And it's just the most obnoxious thing ever that they're just kind of bobbing back and forth in and out. They don't need to do that. They can be controlling their position a little bit better somewhere around where the plasma guys are, so that they're not on the front lines, they're not drawing as much attention to themselves as they might be if they're just kind of sitting on their SMG butts. They're not frontline targets. You don't want your medics drawing attention as the easiest targets to get to, because then the medics get destroyed, and if the enemy has medics who are being a little bit smarter, the enemy has a massive advantage. So medics, realistically, somewhere between the SMG and the plasma, where they can contribute, healing, doing whatever they need to do without being in the way, kind of a good idea, kind of a good thing. Now, some people might come up with different style of bots, different style of play that they're happy with, that they enjoy, and that's fantastic. This is more, again, if you're playing this kind of bot and you're not sure what you should be doing or where you should be doing it, here's some ideas for you. Try and, if you're a medic, not be in the way and be close to everybody without being on the front lines. That's sort of the ideal. That leaves us with rails, and does anybody really care about rails anymore? Obviously, the best place to be if you're a rail gunner is as far removed from the action as you can possibly be, while still being close enough to throw down damage. And again, keeping your guns busy. If you've got reloaded guns, you don't want to be sitting there for 2 or 3 minutes waiting for a target. You want to be unloading those guns and then reloading them and doing as much as you can to support your team without giving yourself away to the enemy in a way that they've got nothing else to do except chase you down. Pretty straightforward. The flyers, they kind of come in somewhere between plasma vehicles on the ground and railguns. They don't do so well when people are shooting at them. Even if they're really, really robust, it takes surprisingly little to knock a flyer out of the sky. Actually, it shouldn't even be surprising. It's just the nature of the bot. There's a lot of advantages to being a flyer, and it's balanced by the disadvantage that if you lose 1 or 2 wings, it doesn't take much to lose 1 or 2 wings, and then you're screwed. You fall out of the sky, and you kind of have to either hope that you get healed or hope that you have enough systems left that you can kind of skid across the ground and find some guys to shoot that way. It's just a thing. It's just a nature. But the whole idea is that you've got general rules and general ideas based on certain situations. They just love spamming it as soon as they see the bomber. That was a mistake. I saw all those guys and I was just so excited that I got to shoot at one of them, and that was dumb because I can see my 3 guys closing in on them, but they couldn't see them. All they saw was me. I was the only target available, and I paid for tipping them off as to my location with a lot of fire. It was bad. As a community, we need to come up with some ideas that we can offer to people as guidelines and say, if you're choosing this kind of weapon, if you're choosing this kind of mobility, you might want to consider taking on this kind of a role. Not telling people how to play, not telling people how to build, but eliminating this 8 out of 10 people on a team just kind of milling around waiting for someone else to decide what to do, resulting in this really kind of dull, chaotic mess of just crap. You can't really do anything because you can't do anything alone, and all the enemy is going to do is pick people off as they move up the map because everyone else is just waiting for the death ball at the base. It's bad, and it happens so often. So this was actually my last match before I had enough tech points to unlock the tier 9 Tesla blades. And then we took the guns off of the flyer and we put them back on the Pretty Hate machine because we need to grind out some more tier 10 tech points. But this bot is definitely staying in my garage, and I'm going to come back to it and make some adjustments, make some changes based on my experience in the matches. Overall, I'd say it's not bad. It's a good beginner platform. It's really, really mobile for what it is. It just I just got turned into a TIE fighter. That's basically what happened there. I really enjoyed it, but for the time being, there's a steep learning curve, and I just don't have time for it. We got to get back into the Pretty Hate machine, and we got to start working on some other builds. So that's what we're going to do. In the next episode, might be some more Pretty Hate machine match footage, or it'll be the next build. It just kind of depends on how the RP and tech point accumulation goes. If you want to be notified when I add that video, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel and or follow me on the social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Please do leave your comments and feedback. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you didn't like. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.
Plasma tank spotted.